In 2010, a Harvard researcher handed patients a bottle of pills. The label said, placebo pills. He told them exactly what was inside. Nothing. Inert cornstarch. Zero active ingredient. He explained what a placebo is. He answered every question. Then he said, take these twice a day for 3 weeks. Those patients got better. Twice as fast as the patients who received no treatment at all. Here's the thing nobody in medicine could explain. Your brain doesn't need to be fooled. It already knows how to heal itself. The question is, what turns on that switch? Before that Harvard study, there was a story. Everyone in medicine knows it. It goes like this. World War II. North Africa or Italy, depending on who tells it. A U.S. Army anesthesiologist named Henry Beecher runs out of morphine. Wounded soldiers are screaming. A nurse, in desperation, injects saline, salt water, and tells them it's morphine. The soldiers relax. The pain fades. Beecher watches in amazement. He spends the next decade studying this phenomenon. In 1955, he publishes the paper that creates modern placebo science. The powerful placebo in JAMA. He claims that across 15 clinical trials, fake treatments provided measurable relief in 35% of patients. The 35% figure enters every medical textbook on Earth. There's one problem. Researchers went to Beecher's Harvard archives looking for the saline injection story. They searched every letter, every diary, every field note. It wasn't there. The story that launched the entire field of placebo science. The most cited origin of the most discussed phenomenon in medicine. Almost certainly never happened. The placebo effect was powerful enough to invent its own origin myth. But here is what nobody expected when they started actually studying it. The placebo effect is real. Measurably, biochemically, undeniably real. 1978, scientists give patients placebo for pain. Then they inject naloxone, the drug used to reverse heroin overdoses. It works on opioid receptors. The pain came back. If placebo were just psychology, just positive thinking, blocking opioid receptors would do nothing. But it did something. Which means the brain had been releasing actual opioids. Morphine, made by your own body, triggered by a sugar pill. Fabrizio Benedetti at the University of Turin spent 30 years mapping this. He found that placebos activate real biochemical pathways. Opioids, cannabinoids, dopamine, the same pathways that pharmaceutical drugs target. In Parkinson's patients, a single placebo triggered a 200% surge in dopamine. Not a slight bump. 200%. Comparable to amphetamine response, he proved one more thing. Alzheimer's patients, whose prefrontal cortex is damaged, get zero placebo response. None. They need significantly higher drug doses to achieve the same relief as people with intact brains. The placebo effect requires a working brain. It is not wishful thinking. It is your brain doing chemistry. In 2002, a surgeon at Baylor College of Medicine ran an experiment that almost nobody wanted him to run. J. Bruce Moseley performed knee surgery on anesthetized patients. Some got the full procedure, clean, flush repair, standard arthroscopy. Some got incisions, 3 cuts, a scope insertion. The surgical sounds, the full theater of the operating room. Then he sewed them back up without touching the knee. When patients woke, they didn't know which group they were in. He followed them for 2 years. At no point did real surgery outperform fake surgery. Not at 3 months, not at 6 months, not at 2 years. Pain scores, function tests, Quality of life, identical. At the time, 650,000 knee arthroscopies were performed every year in the United States alone, at a cost of billions of dollars. Mosley's study suggested that what patients were paying for, the hours in the OR, the recovery, the risk of anesthesia, was in many cases a very expensive ritual. And Ted Kapchuk at Harvard runs the program in placebo studies. He trained in traditional Chinese medicine before becoming the world's leading placebo scientist. He describes his work as studying the healing context, everything around the pill that isn't the pill. In 2010, he enrolled IBS patients in a study and handed them a bottle labeled placebo pills. He explained exactly what placebo means. He said, "These pills contain no active ingredient." Then he said, "Studies suggest that placebo pills can have powerful healing effects through mind-body self-healing processes. Take them twice a day." The no-treatment group showed 35% improvement over 3 weeks. The open-label placebo group showed 59%, nearly double, higher than most prescription IBS medications in double-blind trials. The result has now been replicated across IBS, chronic low back pain, cancer-related fatigue, and migraine. Kapchuk says, "Our job is to make people feel better. The brain's healing system, it turns out, operates partly below conscious awareness. Knowing the pill is fake doesn't stop the ritual from working." The ceremony of care, the white coat, the prescription, the twice-daily routine may matter more than the molecule inside the capsule. There is a dark side to this. If belief can heal, it can also harm. In 2021, a clinical trial called SAMSON enrolled 60 patients who had abandoned statins, cholesterol medication that protects against heart attacks. They'd stopped because of debilitating muscle pain. A common complaint, an understandable reason. The SAMSON trial gave patients blinded bottles, sometimes real statins, sometimes identical-looking placebo, sometimes nothing. The result was devastating and clarifying at once. On real statins, patients rated their muscle pain at 8.0 out of 10. On placebo, 7.7 out of 10. 90% of their symptom burden. The pain that had driven them off life-saving medication was nocebo. Their brains had read the warning label, expected pain, and manufactured it. The pain was completely real. The cause was a paragraph on a package insert. Half of those patients restarted their statins after seeing the data. Some had already suffered cardiovascular events while off their medication. Kapchuk's team found the same mechanism in a different study. Patients who were warned about side effects from a sham treatment reported exactly those side effects: nausea, dizziness, fatigue. From cornstarch pills, the nocebo effect, negative expectation made real by a brain that takes instruction. A 2024 study found that negative expectations cause stronger and longer-lasting pain responses than positive expectations cause relief. The dark side is more powerful than the light side. Here is what Benedetti's work adds up to. Every drug effect you have ever experienced contains two components: the pharmacological effect of the molecule and the placebo component of everything around it. The expectation, the ritual, the relationship with the doctor, the color of the pill, the sound of the packaging, the confidence in the voice of the diagnosis. You cannot separate them. Every clinical trial in history has been measuring their combined effect with placebo subtracted. But placebo was never subtracted cleanly, because placebo changes depending on the context. The word placebo comes from the Latin, I shall please. For centuries, doctors used theatrical rituals, colored water, elaborate prescriptions, physical ceremonies, because they intuited what Kapchuk would prove, that healing happens partly in the space between doctor and patient. Your brain has a pharmacy inside it. It stocks opioids, comatodoins, dopamine, serotonin. It is waiting for permission to dispense them. The ritual is the prescription. Think about the last time you took medicine. Before it dissolved, before it reached your bloodstream, your brain had already started, not because you were tricked, because anticipation is itself a signal, because the ritual of care, someone who listened, a diagnosis with a name, a specific instruction, is a form of medicine as old as our species. Understanding this doesn't make placebos a substitute for real treatment. It doesn't mean illness is imaginary or doctors are irrelevant. It means your brain is a participant in your healing, not a passive recipient, an active agent releasing chemistry in response to meaning. If belief is medicine, and the evidence says it is, then how we talk to patients, how we warn about side effects, how we frame diagnosis and treatment is not just bedside manner. It is pharmacology. If this one surprised you, subscribe, because the next story is about something that controls a brain from the outside and does it with terrifying precision. Your brain's pharmacy responds to meaning, to expectation, to the presence of another person who wants to help. But what if something else got access to that same pharmacy? Deep in the tropical rainforests of South America, a fungus called Ophiocordyceps unilaterally finds an ant and begins to eat it alive from the inside. But it doesn't kill the ant. Not yet. First, it rewires it. It changes the ant's behavior, forces it to climb, forces it to bite down on a stem at a very specific height, always 25 centimeters, the exact humidity the fungus needs to reproduce. Then it kills it. Then it blooms from the ant's skull, raining spores down on the ants walking below. The ant never had a choice. Its brain was writing someone else's